I'll Google it. I don't know either. Look at it. Let's look. I think transport does.
I call this regular meeting of the Town of Gibsons Council to order at 3:30 p.m., November 4th, 2025. We're honored to be gathered here on the traditional territory of the Skokomish Nation. And first item is to approve the agenda from council. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? We've approved the agenda. We have minutes to adopt from October 21st, 2025 of special council meeting. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? We've adopted those minutes. And then we have a bylaw up for first, second, and third readings. This is the standard bylaw we need to do every year for revenue anticipation borrowing. Is there any more to elaborate on that, Director of Finance?
No, there is not, Mayor White.
Yeah. We're all familiar with needing to do this one every year. So that's moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Lumley. All those in favor? The motion's carried. Committee reports, which is section 5 of the agenda. We have Committee of the Whole minutes, which are just there for information. Are any questions on those? Seeing none, we have a motion here coming out of that Committee of the Whole, which is 5.1.2, participation in the Canadian Protected and Conserved Areas Database, which came from a report at that meeting, and it's moved by Councillor Kroll to pass that motion as council, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? That motion carries. And now we are on to section 6 of the agenda, 6.1. And I think we're going to have a presentation from McElhaney too, associated with this. But I'll hand it over to our Director of Planning and Development Services to introduce the 3D view model analysis and revised zoning bylaw building height direction report.
Thank you, Mayor White. So we do have a report on this agenda, and we've got a few recommendations and some decisions.
Up front. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Some recommendations and decisions that'll direct staff to update the bylaw that we'll bring forward at the next meeting. But here is Colton Kersop, and he's going to share his screen and present some changes that we're recommending. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll just get my screen sharing going. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, good afternoon. My name is Colton Kersop. I'm a registered professional planner with McElhaney, and I'll be providing a presentation on the height and view analysis of the proposed zoning bylaw, which we hope to bring to council very shortly. So an important key message that I want to share with council and residents is that we've heard the concerns with some of the heights provided in the preliminary draft of the zoning bylaw. And today, staff and I will demonstrate our responsiveness to these concerns and how we feel we can address them. So as Ms. Stats noted, we prepared a 3D model of the town of Gibsons using City Engine software and geospatial data from a variety of sources. The purpose of creating this model was to test the effect of proposed zoning changes on a selection of publicly accessible views in Gibsons, and also so that we could model the potential outcomes of the development envelopes that were proposed in the draft zoning bylaw that was brought to engagement and shared with council earlier this year. So our view study had two key objectives, which was to, as I mentioned, compare existing public views with the zoning envelope in the existing bylaw and the draft bylaw. And we wanted to use this tool to provide alternative height options based on what we found. So there was a 4-step process involved. The first step was to create the model and then identify the specific views that we wanted to really drill down into and identify how the proposed zoning bylaw compared to the existing. And our analysis involved comparing the percentages of views blocked between the existing and proposed zoning, and then to provide some options and alternatives for council consideration, informed by what we found. And so those are contained in the recommendations memo and in the staff report, with a couple of areas where we were providing more than one option. So we'll get into that and get council's direction on those, as well as everything else. So in terms of the views that we've analyzed, we analyzed 7 views that were provided to us by the town staff. They were selected on the basis of being publicly accessible, being very significant and beautiful views that the current view protection framework was designed to protect. As you can see from the slide, the view protection framework is really designed to protect those views that go down from high points around the harbor into the harbor to the water, and as seen from higher elevations, including mountains, Keats Island, and the backdrop beyond just the harbor. So this slide shows the Google Street View images of each viewpoint that we modeled in the study. So they include taken from the top of School Road, looking down Gibsons Way at the corner where Gibsons Way does the right angle turn. Also from the top of Fletcher Road and Martin Road. And view 5 is from Skyline Drive towards the harbor. View 6 is from the top of Duval Park, and view 7 is from just outside council chambers, looking across the parking lot between Town Hall and the Tourist Information Center. So I have a couple of animations on this slide because I have 7 slides like this. I want you to understand what you're looking at. So I'd like to orient council to the slides that summarize the analysis of each view. So in the first animation, or the little blue highlight that just came on there, the top left image is the view as it was when Google Street View took the picture. The top middle image is the current zoning bylaw development envelopes. So those colored blocks, red and purple and yellow, are the currently allowed building envelopes for various sites. So this is looking down School Road. The red is some commercial buildings. Further into the distance, you'll see some orange buildings. Those are the medium density residential sites. And then the purple block is the school. The next square over, the top right image, is the proposed zoning bylaw development envelopes. And to be clear, this is the zoning envelopes from the bylaw that was used in public engagement and that was provided to council in advance of engagement. So we used this to to provide the options that are contained in our report today, because some of these findings indicated that there were probably some mitigations worthy of consideration. The image in the lower left shows a bird's eye view from above. What views are blocked in red? So if there's a building in the way, the area behind it is showing up in red, and the little pieces of green indicate that you can see the view. So further out, I'll just get my pointer here. Pick purple. Well, it's not very visible. Laser pointer. There we go. So this green here means that you can actually still see the ocean over here. So it just helps us from above identify what elements of the view are still visible. And then the last section of the slide over here indicates what percentage of the view is visible. So from this viewpoint, currently 44.5% of the ocean and the Keats Island Mountains are visible. With the proposed zoning bylaw, that drops to 50%. And so there is a 5% loss in view. It's kind of counterintuitive. A positive number is how much of the view is lost. And there are some slides where there's a negative number. That actually means you've gained some view. So what we found here is that with the incursion of buildings into the view, specifically the CM2 zone, we're providing a recommendation that we drop that from 15 meters to 10 meters at this location so that the view can continue to be retained. We've also noted that the public institutional zone had a height of 15 meters. We proposed to drop it to 11 meters so that it would continue to be visible. And similarly, we've noted that the RM1 zone was proposed at 16 meters. That was actually kind of a typo on our behalf. We never really intended for the lower Gibsons medium density zone and upper Gibsons medium density zone to have the same heights. And a modeling exercise like this is a great way to find out that you've made some of those omissions. So we're proposing to drop it to 10 meters. And then we'll move on to the next slide, which is view 2, as seen from the corner, the right angle corner at Gibsons Way. What we found here is that there's a 6.5% loss of the view, but the core elements of the view, such as the bluff in the far distance, in the background, and the ocean beyond, remained visible. But there are some impacts with the proposed zoning. So we've proposed 2 changes. One is to reduce the height of the RM1 zone from 16 meters to 10 meters. That's because those orange buildings show up here in the proposed zoning bylaw, and to replace the RL2 zone with RL1. So we would drop the height of the proposed buildings on the uphill side. They're shown here at 11 meters. We would propose dropping them to 8.5 meters, so they would essentially be very similar to what you see in the current zoning bylaw envelope. The next view that we looked at was just as you turned the corner, because there's quite a panoramic view of the ocean and Keats Island. And again, this helped us sort of understand the RL3 zone, which had always been applied from this point south, just to really, it confirmed that the RL2 zone, which we applied to the Heritage Hill, works. It retains a lot of those views, and so you don't actually see an impact on the view, and just a very minor impact, a 4% difference. But in terms of overall change, we don't think that impact merits a change. In terms of view analysis of view number 3 is from the top of Fletcher Road, looking down to the harbor and the ocean beyond in the far ground. What we noticed here was that in the current zoning bylaw, you can actually see parts of the Bluff neighborhood, and of course you can see the ocean beyond. It just actually goes outside of our view here, so can't show that it's being picked up, but it is. Really, again, here we noticed that parts of the view are eroded by the proposed RL2 zoning that we had here. So we're looking at a recommendation to replace the RL2 zoning here with RL1. That would bring us back to a situation like this where you're seeing more of the view. And we also noted those medium density sites on School Road did pop up into the view. And so again, those are proposed to be dropped to 10 meters from 16. And because we're replacing or recommending replacing the RL2 zone shown in the yellow with RL1, this would drop from an 11-meter height limit to 8.5 meters. So then we analyzed view 4 from the top of Martin Road, and it was very similar to the view down Fletcher. We noted that the distant elements of the bluff and the ocean beyond were still visible, but as you can see, significantly less so. And that was really driven mostly by the height of the RM1 zone being allowed at 16 meters. So our recommendation is to drop that to 10 meters. That would bring it back into a similar state as this. And then of course, still you'll see this theme throughout the rest of our presentation where we're recommending expanding the application of RL1 instead of RL2 so that more of this view can remain. When it comes to the view at the top of Skyline Drive, we noticed significant blocking of the view in the foreground. That's really the marina surface and the harbor water, while the hillside remained largely visible. And this was really driven by the 11-meter height of the RL2 zone. And so based on this analysis, our recommendation is to replace the RL2 zoning here with RL1. When we moved to view 6, the top of Dougal Park, the view did not experience much in the way of an impact. So even if we moved ahead with the proposed zoning heights, the view remains extremely intact. But the issue would be that because we had some yellow RL2 sites, if we didn't make a recommendation to drop them, they would certainly be obvious in their surroundings and it wouldn't have a consistent look and feel in terms of height limits. So we felt that really for consistency's sake, more than anything else, we propose to drop the RL2 here and replace it with RL1 at 8.5 meters. Then we looked at this is the last view that we looked at, which is from the Fletcher Road and Gibsons Visitor Center and Town Hall. And our findings were that under the current zoning, the public institutional zone was proposed to have a maximum height of 15 meters. We're proposing to drop that to 11 meters, really to have consistency and more available views. I do note it's probably unlikely that the town would choose to develop this to the maximum development envelope, but you never know. And so the result here is a recommendation to drop it to 11 meters, except if there was a housing agreement entered into, there would be the potential for additional floors of residential. But that's a decision that, of course, council has got to make in the future to enter into a housing agreement. So to summarize our analysis, we noted that the height of the RL1 zone is a better fit for use in the sloped areas of Gibsons. Certainly, it offers a lot more in the way of view preservation over the RL2 zone. And other views in the zone were impacted by the proposed heights of the public institutional zone, the RM1 zone. So we've recommended height reductions to those zones accordingly. And then on the next set of slides, we will address changes to the CM1 and CM2 zones and the view protection areas. So really what we set out to do was answer the question, is this level of granularity required? There are many, many sub areas and sometimes sub-areas within sub-areas. We've got an H and an H1. And so we really wanted to see if there was a way we could manage height through zoning and site-specific exceptions to height in a way that would be more transparent to landowners, because they wouldn't have to flip to a section on view protections. They would actually see it right in the zone. As they're reading through that zone, they'd be like, oh, here are the height exceptions that apply to this particular property. So that's what we set out to do. This is another high-level view of the current view protection regulations. I really would summarize it by stating that it's complicated. There's lots of different permutations. There's different setback requirements, different height requirements, and there's a lot of different geometries involved. And so we worked with staff, with your development officers, to understand whether even all of these are feasible. And we found that in some cases, some of these view protection requirements resulted in unbuildable development sites that were essentially impractical, or they were just so complicated to execute that probably no one would, even if it's technically feasible. It wouldn't be like, it wouldn't make financial sense. It wouldn't make buildability sense. So we'll get into these sub areas. So we looked at sub area A, which is shown on screen. It's the right down Molly's Lane, and so it's shown on the map where it applies. What we came to in terms of a recommendation is that in the case of this particular sub area, we recommend keeping it with some modifications, essentially recommending a very minor increase in height to 7.5 meters aligned with the CM1 zone as measured from the average grade of the property line on Molly's Lane. So this gives it some site specificity, grounds it in Molly Lane context. This will allow parking access at grade with a single story above grade. The current downslope massing is quite restrictive and are recommended to be addressed instead through flood regulation setbacks and forming character guidelines, and we'll get to those on another slide. This is also consistent with the current OCP, envisioning 2 stories on both sides of the lane. And then we would modify the sub area boundary to remove the property below Molly's Reach, which requires a maximum height below the ground floor of the cafe window, and set a specific height that doesn't block the view of that cafe window. In terms of additional height options, in mixed use commercial Lower Gibson zone, or CM1, we recommend some specific street fronting lots have a reduced height. The requirement there that buildings must include weather protection features at a maximum of 3.5 meters above finished grade is intended to create a 1-story facade in line with current weather protection requirements. And on this slide, we show in red some of those changes. So we would make those changes in the Gibsons Landing development permit area, which is a component of the OCP. And we would require that building facades facing the principal commercial street or lane frontage include design features emphasizing the first story provide that pedestrian sense of scale, and where a building height of more than 2 stories is allowed, the design shall step back to a minimum of 3 meters above the second floor. So you're going to get a significant portion of the building pulled back to reduce its massing and shadowing effects on the street, and also offering potentially the opportunity for some amenity space up there. Then in sub area B, our recommendation is also to keep this one. Additionally, we propose a view protection policy in the Gibsons Landing development permit area. So going into the OCP statement like this, an unobstructed view corridor 3 meters wide should be provided every 30 meters to allow open oceans of the view, or open views of the ocean. And that the building longitudinal access measured 1 meter above natural grade of Gower Point Road property line must not exceed 30 meters in length. So these regulations are intended to give you that sort of finer grain scale and those view shots to the ocean. When we get to sub-area C, there's a recommendation here to keep it, but with some modifications. The recommendation is that for the portion of a lot within 20 meters of the property line of Periwinkle Lane, the maximum building height is 5.5 meters, measured from the average natural grade at Periwinkle Lane property line. And for the portion of a lot within 10 meters of the property line along Gower Point Road, the maximum building height is 7.5 meters, measured from the average natural grade at Gower Point Road property line. And for all other areas of the lot, the maximum building height is 8.5 meters. And a statement like this can be put in the zone itself, which would potentially alleviate some of the complexity, or it could be left in a view protection sub area, or that can actually be injected with a map like this into the zone. So I think we have some ways of helping streamline the current system, but still get the same outcomes. Then we looked at sub-area D. We believe we can delete this sub-area and definitely manage it through zoning. As written in the existing bylaw, the rear portions of properties are unbuildable on steep slopes, so the current approach is problematic. Our recommendation is to manage as much of this as possible through zoning. So for the area in green, the residential portion along Marine Drive is now contained in the new RL3 zone, which we're proposing. And so this honors the intent of view protection by keeping the height limit at 4.5 meters above the street. So by introducing this new RL3 zone, we've accomplished many of the objectives of this view protection sub-area. For the area in yellow, we also think we can manage that through some specific provisions in the zoning. So for this portion of sub-area D, it has lower slopes and it can be managed through the RL1 zone because it has those lower heights. And then our recommendation around the orange part of subsection D or sub-area D is to replace the commercial portion with the CM1 zone with a building height being specified at 4.5 meters measured from the average natural grade at the Marine Drive property line. So that's how we recommend council handles the maintenance of the view protection objectives for this sub-area through zoning. Then we have sub-area E. We again believe this can be deleted and merged and managed through zoning. We would merge the residential portion outlined in green into the RL1 zone, and we would specify a 7.5 meter maximum height from natural grade. The way the regulations are written in the existing bylaw, the rear portions are unbuildable, so we're trying to alleviate that hardship on property owners and bring in just that alternate height to help manage the terracing down the hill. And then for the purple section, the commercial portion of sub-area E, we believe we can also manage that through zoning, really again through a alternate height limit of 7.5 meters measured from average natural grade. Moving to sub-area F, we believe we can manage this also through zoning and delete the view protection sub-area. We would default to the zone, and as I just mentioned in the presentation on the view analysis, we're proposing to reduce heights in the PI, the CM1, and the RM1 zone. So we can use those zones to provide a stepped massing around the Billy's Walk development and align with neighboring properties. Then we looked at sub-area H, which has a quite extensive area of coverage. Our recommendation is to keep part of it and delete part of it. So the portion in red, we are proposing some changes, which is really that the maximum building height be set at 4.5 meters, measured from the average grade of the lot fronting Gower Point Road. And then for the rest of the sub-area, shown over here, we believe that this can be managed through zoning by having a specific height measure for this area and managing it through the zoning. In terms of sub-area H1, here's the details. We would update the boundary to include additional property ownership boundaries. We would replace this regulation with maximum building height is 10 meters as measured from the average natural grade on Gower Point Road. And we would keep the intent of the sub-area by including that site-specific height calculation from Gower Point Road in individual zones using the revised RM1 and the revised CM1 with site-specific height calculations at 10 meters. And then we get to sub-area I. This is one we believe we can delete and manage through zoning. The yellow portion, we propose to apply the RL1 zone, so a maximum height of 8.5 meters, measured from natural grade. This will step the building down the slope and protect uphill views. We believe that we can also manage it through zoning for the section in pink and blue, and simplify it by applying the RM1 and the PI zones with the new 11-meter height as measured from natural grade. And measuring from natural grade pulls the height down the slope. So even though those numbers may sound high, they lose approximately 4.5 meters in sort of maximum extent of their height when you're measuring it from the street. So that brings us to back to our findings. When we were showing you the view analysis, we noted that the RL2 zone at 11 meters in height was driving a lot of the loss of views. And so what we've realized through this process is we'd like to establish height in the RL zone really on the basis of topography. And so we're proposing one of two options here. One would be to essentially, we've used the word merge, and what we're suggesting is merge the RL1 and 2 zones across Gibsons with sub areas to differentiate height, with 9 meters in Upper Gibsons and then 8.5 meters on this side of the line. So that would give you a lower overall height because the area is terraced. You want to have more of that view preservation down to the harbor. In the flatter regions of Upper Gibsons, you could have a little bit more height, and there's not as much impact on views. The other option is to simply remove the RL2 zone altogether and expand RL1 across the town and just have an 8.5 meter height across the town in the low density residential zone. Whereas option 1 would really be having 2 different heights, still probably within the RL1 zone. It's just taking a sub area approach as opposed to a blanket approach. Then we get to what I mentioned in the view analysis. We are proposing to reduce the height of the RM1 medium density residential zone to 10 meters. So it was previously proposed at 16, dropping it significantly to 10, and then making a minor modification of RM2 from 16 to 15 meters. And then just to highlight the height options in the commercial zone, in CM1 mixed use Lower Gibsons, we've noted some specific parcels that we talked about through the view protection. We would have a lower height of 7.5 meters for them. We would also have site-specific calculations for commercial properties in the blue area in the landing. And then we would have some CM2 mixed-use commercial zone limits at 15 meters. That's the sort of max for the zone as a whole, but we would lower that to 10 meters for certain sites fronting Gibsons Way and North Road. So that would be these sites up here, this cluster up here. And then when it came to the public institutional zone, we arrived at 2 potential options, which is either to decrease the height in the public institutional zone from 15 to 11 meters with the option to get to 6 stories when an applicant enters into a rental agreement with the town, and offer some site-specific exception clauses for sites in Lower Gibsons that include the town hall, the public library, and the post office. Or we could just create a Lower Gibsons public institutional zone with a permitted maximum height of 9 meters. So there's 2 sort of distinct choices there, and we're welcoming council's input on that. And so in summary, there's a couple of trade-offs to the approach. If we were to maintain the existing regulations, yes, it maintains existing views on public and private property, but it does limit the opportunities to build residential development. It restricts height in some areas and not others. So there was a fairness issue that was raised in some of the engagement feedback. There's also the fact that maintaining it retains the complexity that we showed you in the bylaw, and the fact that some of the zone protections don't work. And then what we're recommending is integrating view protection through reduced height limits and exceptions or site-specific height limits in the proposed bylaw. This maintains public views. Private views could be impacted by some of the changes, but certainly a lot less than were proposed in the previous draft. It provides controlled opportunities to expand the number of residential units per lot. We recommend mitigating view impacts through the site-specific height reductions. And using this approach makes it really clear in the bylaw to property owners what their height permissions are, so that they don't have to discover the view protection section in a bylaw. And so that's why our staff recommendation is that we make the changes outlined in this report, and that we get some council direction on the approach to RL1 and RL2, either creating a height differential of 8.5 meters east of Eagle Crest and O'Shea Road and North Road, and 9 meters west of that, or simply remove the RL2 zone and expand RL1 across the town. And then the other area where we're looking for some direction is on the public institutional zone. We could decrease the height to 11 meters from 15, still allow the opportunity for a rental housing agreement with the town, or we could create a new Lower Gibsons PI zone with a permitted height of 9 meters. So that concludes our presentation. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, questions, council? It's all very complex, so I'm sure there are questions. Yeah, I'll go to Councillor Thompson first.
Thank you. We're talking about heights here, but there were also recommendations on setbacks and lot size. So I feel like that would obviously have a strong relationship to height considerations. When would we see that sort of incorporated into the thought process here?
So in terms of when we're looking at views in particular, like that's our focus today, like view analysis. Okay, so I'll go to our planning staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So through the mayor, the zoning bylaw had setbacks in it. So what we've proposed through the modification of the view protection guidelines or regulations is to merge them, so we would default to the setbacks in the zoning bylaw. Current, yes, the one that was proposed.
Just to be clear,
Which is 1.2,
right, so when we're talking current,
1.5, not 1.2.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So property line setbacks, they're different for each zone, but we thank you for that. So the RL 1, 2, and 3 would have side setbacks of 1.5 meters. And I think we might have originally put out a bylaw saying they were 1.2 meters. So that would change.
1.5, yeah. No.
Is there a
No, it's
specific-
absolutely not 1.2, yeah. That's what I'm hearing.
No, it wouldn't be 1.2. So we're recommending 1.5, and that actually came from feedback from our review from the building department because of fire separations. So if you have larger setbacks, you can have more windows on the side of your property. And so we're recommending going back to the 1.5 meters, which is the standard.
Other questions? Councillor DeAndrade.
I'm just going to follow up on this. Obviously, I have more questions, but just for clarification, the 1.5 setbacks remain in place from the current, the one we have right now in the zoning. But there has been proposal of changing the front line setbacks from 7.5 to 5, exterior side, and the rear lot line from 7.5 to 3.5. So, and the exterior side lot setback, I think, remains the 3. So this is the current bylaw for R3 and from R1, R2, and R3. But on the proposed, there was change. So what are we looking at?
Through the mayor. So I'll give you the setbacks for the RL1 that we're proposing. And we'll put it all together when we bring it forward for the next meeting. But front setback is 5 meters. The rear setback, where there is no rear lane, is 3.5 meters. The rear setback where there is a lane is 1.5 meters. The interior side setback is 1.5 meters, and the exterior side setback is 3 meters. And then on top of that would be, for the portion of the lot located within 7.5 meters of the rear lot line, the maximum building height is 4.5 meters. And so there would be 1 story within the rear setback.
Yep.
Please, so the 4.5 is for low, the R1. So what about R2?
So that's RL1, through the mayor, RL1. RL2, so do you want the do you want me to go through all the setbacks?
Just for clarification, is RL, if we follow this RL2 is kind of theoretical right now,
Right.
unless we say no to,
Yes,
there
we're,
is going to be no RL2 if we pass the recommendations today.
we're seeking direction on whether to keep it, basically.
Okay, but you're
we
still
could-
interested in maybe keeping it, so we'll ask, is it relevant or?
Well, I'm just trying to understand because there's a lot of information.
What was the
so-
RL2? Okay, yeah. But-
So the RL2 as drafted in a potential updated version would be 5 meter front setback, 3.5 meter rear setback without a lane, 1.5 meter rear setback with a lane, 1.5 meter interior side setback, and 3 meter exterior side setback. And then for the portion of the lot located within 7.5 meters of the rear lot line, the maximum building height is 6 meters.
Other questions? Councillor DeAndrade?
Thank you. The map that shows the sub-area on the west and the sub-area on the, can you please put on the screen? So,
Sure, certainly. Just give me a second.
I think you're talking about the area of upper versus lower?
well, they propose a sub-area, like a RL sub-area boundary line,
I
and
think that's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the upper and lower, yeah.
yeah. So I just would like a clarification. So this blue line that goes straight and stops before the town ends. So what does it really mean?
We would propose that it would continue, but it's really just to show that that when you're on the west side of the line, the topographical lines are quite close together, meaning it's a steep hillside, and they all sort of look down to the water. So that was established. If you want to call it this, you could call it the top of bank line for the greater town topography. So we would set that as the differentiating boundary between a half-meter height increase west of this line and 8.5 meters east of that line.
Okay, maybe just to be clear, because it's very complex when you look at the whole picture. So I understand that you're following topography, but if we make a decision, the line would go straight.
Correct.
Yeah, and it follows, it's already straight, and it would just keep going straight.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Councilor Lumley.
Okay. I've got a few questions. On Gower Point Road, which is a sub area, there was part of it in green, and the last part of it was in yellow. And I guess my question would be, why wouldn't we want it just to be all green? Like, why would we want an increase in height? Why would we want that whole area to be 4.5 instead of that increase in height at the end of Gower Point? I guess that'd be near Marine Crescent, that little section after, it looked like it was after the last part of Marine Drive. I think it's sub area.
Area H, was that H?
You know what,
It's area D,
Okay, D.
Pull it up.
I think. It's on, are
you
you
go.
talking about Marine Drive?
yeah. Why is that yellow instead of green?
The top.
It's really because the height above it, like the hillside gets steeper up here. So with RL1, they'd be limited to 8.5 meters, and our view analysis showed that they don't block the view at 8.5 meters. But down here, the topography flattens out, and most of these properties are actually lower than Marine Drive. So we worked with Ms. Stats to sort of model this and make sure that they do need that lower height limit, but they also needed some other regulations so that they could actually have like those very steep and deep basements facing the waterfront. But Leslie Ann, feel free to explain this better if I haven't.
I don't really have much to add. The yellow portion, it just wasn't as steep as the green or red portion on that map. So the way we're recommending calculating height along the red and green is to calculate it from Marine Drive and max it at 4.5 meters from Marine Drive and let the building step down the slope. And then they're also dealing with flood construction levels on the waterfront side. Whereas D, we're recommending just merging it in with the RL1 zone and letting the slope calculate the height and calculating it at 8.5 meters.
Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to wrap
if you
my mind around.
If you visualize it, like there's across the street from that area, there's like retaining walls and then quite a steep slope going up.
That's fine, but
Before the houses
Like
start,
I've
whereas
made-
it does.
I've made this argument before through the mayor. I've made this argument. It's not just about someone living in a house, their view. If I'm riding a bike or if I'm driving or whatever, if I'm walking there and you go, oh, okay, well, this can be higher because those people live up higher. Well, now I'm just walking beside this giant wall and it's right on the waterfront. That's my only kind of concern is that, okay, like, are we just saying hey, we can build buildings higher here, so let's just do it, or let's just allow people to do it. I don't know if that's like the answer. Like, you know, there's going to be different view corridors and views, but I think, I don't know, personally, if you're driving along or you're going along the waterfront, I don't know, why block everything out? Why block Keats Island out? Why block, you know, how about, you know, one of the most important drives into town is this road. And I would just say, keep the heights low and people can, you know, I don't know, this is just my thought, right? Like, just to raise heights, just for the sake of raising heights, I don't understand that concept. But anyway, that was, you answered my question about, thank you very much, you answered my question about the height, but that's just a comment that I have about it. And then I have another question, if I could, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay. Some clarification on, now I'm on Gower Point Road. So, just a clarification on, I know you showed a picture of Gower Point Road looking, with the new Persephone development on the right side of that picture. And then I think you said that, so the height there, you're saying that you could build another story on top of that as long as it's set back. Is that true? Is that what, was that part of it? I mean, I'm just, you know, it is a lot to comprehend, but I don't, is that 2 stories there? That's 2 stories, right? The height of that red building?
Yes.
Yeah, that's 2 stories.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, I think, what Colton was saying is that you can put 3 stories there as long as it's set back from the road. Is that true? Is that kind of what's happening?
I hope not, because we don't want that. I know council would.
Like I said,
That's not what I've heard in the past, but if that's the case, that's a problem.
So it sort of is the case. So on the upper side
I'm asking.
of Gower Point Road, it's currently in sub-area C. So what sub-area C says right now is you can calculate height from Gower Point Road, which is between 7.5 meters and 10 meters. What we're recommending is bringing it down to 7.5 meters on Gower Point Road, so reducing the height a little bit. It also regulates height from, is that Periwinkle? I think that's Periwinkle Lane on the upper side. And it says you can calculate height at 5.5 meters. So we're recommending maintaining that 5.5 meter height from the upper side, but reducing it from 10 meters to 7.5 meters on the lower side, on the Gower Point Road side, and then stepping the building.
We're talking about the other side of the
Yes.
road now.
Yeah, I was,
Yeah, there's 2 height calculations in the existing bylaw.
I think are really, this is kind of disturbing, because I don't think it was ever the intent to increase height on the lower side of Gower Point Road, and we've been going along in this process thinking that height of Persephone Point building of the 2 stories, that's kind of the max that we're looking at here.
Right, sorry.
And I just heard that they could go to 3 stories now, which is totally unacceptable to council, I'm sure, in the community.
No, so that's misunderstood. Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. So sub-area C is what we're talking about, which is the upper side of Gower Point Road.
no, no.
Are you
So
questioning
Councillor
sub-area
Lemley was
B?
asking about B.
Okay.
Again, can I ask the question again or reiterate it? What I heard, and I could be completely out to lunch, it's happened before, but I kind of heard that the sub-area B could go to 3 stories if the 3rd story's stepped back from Gower Point Road. That's kind of like, that was what I understood. Is that right or wrong?
Well, the first time I heard it was when you said it, so
Okay.
I didn't hear that, but we better seek some clarification on that, because that's a pretty significant. Okay,
guess-
Colton, you heard Colton say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the slide.
So it'd be
this is
sub-area B.
for this is for CM1 zone, Lower Gibsons.
Can you go to the sub-area B slide, please, Colton? Now,
Here's
sub-area
sub-area
B is the upper, sub-area B is between Garrow Point Road and Molly's Lane. So it's that
Why
portion.
it's not showing. Sorry. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. That's
So I
the
think
one.
Councillor Lumley, my comments were connected to the development permit area in the official community plan. So that applies to the zone and some different areas. So I may have inadvertently connected this to the view protection area, but as Ms. Stats mentioned, sub-area B is something we're recommending keeping.
So the height that building is now, nothing can get higher. Okay. That was my-
Okay.
This slide is really, it does show this building, but it's actually connected to an update to the form and character guidelines in the OCP.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's it for now. I do have a larger question to ask about the zoning, but I can wait on that.
I want to flip back to the sub-area D one that you brought there too, because so if council was not agreeable to, I think Councillor Lumley raises a good point, like on one hand, I actually can't envision myself going by there, walking by there, driving by there, like there are certainly views, there's a view corridor to Armours. I can't really think of what the view is above that. I don't think there's really one if you're walking by. There's houses and trees, but at the same time, I think your point about like what's the value of trying to raise the height there is a good point. Like, is this an area of town where we really want to push for more density and housing? I don't think so. It's fine the way it is. I agree with you if that's your point. So that might be one that we might want to just kind of circle here and say, like, if we are going to pass a motion, we might want to modify it for that, because I'm not really feeling from council that that's important either, to target that spot to be different from the rest of Marine Drive. So I didn't want to lose that. Are there any other questions? Councillor Lumley has a broader one. Go ahead. Yeah.
Through the mayor, I guess, part of me is thinking that, like, Bill 44, I know it's referenced a lot in the zoning, the whole bylaw update and OCP and so on and so forth, but we haven't reached 5,000. So part of me thinks that we don't have to force ourselves to live by some sort of, like, BC legislation, because we're not at 5,000. Like, shouldn't we be concentrating on developing a zoning bylaw and OCP that kind of sticks with the community's idea of how they want to live instead of the provincial government downloaded mandate? And then the other question would be, if we're not at 5,000 and we can do the OCP and we can do our zoning, like, does that mean when we are 5,001 people, we have to automatically update to Bill 44? Like, or do we, like, I just don't know what the process is. Like, on one hand, I don't know. When you fly into Toronto on a plane and you see all those houses side by side, they're this far apart and they're all the same height and everything, I'm just afraid that you know, just trying to build up this density, and it's just gonna take away from the community. That's all. I just don't see it as a
well-
huge selling point.
I think we're really late in the process to try to go rewind and say, let's make a different decision 2 years ago. Like, we made a decision early this term to do an OCP update and a zoning bylaw update, and to do it based on and then Bill 44 came in, and there was like a checkpoint of like, well, do we do prepare for 5,000? Because we know in the next census, like, the town and the RCMP too thought in the last census we were going to go over 5,000. We're definitely going over 5,000 in this census, and that's next year. So, I mean, we could gamble that we're not going to, but I mean, and do this process all over again. And I guess another question is, how much development do you really expect in 6 months or something that's going to be in between passing this bylaw and when the census happens? I don't think it's gonna, like, I think council made a decision to do this based on being at 5,000. And
I don't know if that was the decision. I think the decision was we have so many issues with our OCP, like misaligned with our zoning. And I don't know if the decision was made because of the 5,000. I think that was the primary decision, was like, hey, we gotta, you know, well, the OCP is updated every few years anyway, but the zoning really has to come in to match the OCP. That's all. And I mean, that was my question. Like, would we have to change it? Do we have to change it? What if you say, you know, like, if you look at the pictures, and I'm not going crazy, I don't think the town's going to get developed, but I mean, you look at those pictures and you go, okay, like, I don't know, what if it does happen then? And, you know, I might not even be around those
you're
days,
talking
but
about
is
the
that the future that we want? Like, that's all, like.
pictures on the far right there that we're actually, I mean, the recommendation today is not go that way, is to bring the
Yeah. No, I was just
heights
questioning
down
the
from
Bill
where what
44
current
thing and everything.
is.
That's
And I
all.
think council already provided that direction last meeting to let's bring the heights down to closer to what the current heights are. So that's what we're looking at now. I mean, I don't think that there's no recommendation to say let's go back to is it RL2 or RM2 that was the proposed zoning. I think we're moving away from that is what the recommendation we're going for today. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I share Councillor Lumley's input in
RL2, yeah.
why height increases because we can. And, you know, being where we are at reviewing this OCP and our objectives to be here, we've already achieved meaningful gentle density through Bill 44. I feel good about that. We've reduced barriers to secondary suite carriage houses, which for me was important. And I think it was a big thing for the community. But now we're talking about all these height adjustments, lot size reductions, setbacks. And to me, we are starting now to change with these calculations that we've had for so many years that preserve the relationship between the existing homes and maintain the form and character that defined our community. And we're shuffling that all around to what gain? When I'm hearing 8.5 to 9 meters as an example, you know, I just feel like it's a big shuffle that feels sort of really dangerous to me as far as how our community is relating to each other in building size.
Okay. Councillor Giandratti.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the same concerns. With Upper Gibsons, it's interesting that there was no views for predicting when we have 18 meters building, 22 15, 6 stories, 8 stories. There's nothing. We might be driving on a highway that is tall buildings all through, well, it stops at the SCRD. So right now, with our current zoning, if the entire town is built out, we're already close to 17,000 units. 70,000 people, sorry.
Before you, can we get a fact check on that, please? I mean, when we say that as counselors, we need to make sure we're referring to a report or, some real data that
Okay, I would
we've got in
love,
front of us. So is
I
that?
would love to hear.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's accurate. Oh, Colton?
Through the chair, the proposed maximum height of the Upper Gibsons mixed-use zone is 15 meters, only increasable to 22 if the town enters into a housing agreement for non-market housing. So for all intents and purposes, it's limited to 15 meters in the CM2 zone. And I can tell you the height of the higher density residential zone, that is 20 meters. So that would be a maximum of 6 stories and no opportunity for increase with a housing agreement.
Okay, well, that's in our data. Let's just stick to what we're talking about today.
Well, there's no data. In the data that I have, which is quite reliable, unless someone presents a
The
better
data
data.
that we should all be talking about here is data from our staff and from
Well,
consultants.
staff does not have a data, Mayor, I'm sorry, for maximum build out. So we cannot talk about, we can choose not to talk about that. But right now, the current zoning allows for incredible growth, 3 times more than we right now. So my concern is with regard, another concern I have with the medium density. We are saying 15 meters, so you have your current low density, and middle density is supposed to be a transition, and you have now this 15 meters. Our townhouses are 3 stories.
Can we get some clarification on it? Because it seems like I'm hearing a lot of concern from council about what was proposed a couple of weeks ago. But I thought what we're looking at today was bringing that down, bringing
RM2,
these heights down.
RM2 as well?
RM2 is out, or RM2 is down, or is it RM1 that's down to 10? Just down to 10?
RM1 is 8.5 meters, and one of the options we provided is to replace RL2 with that. RL2 is 11 meters, so we're fully prepared to get rid of RL2 and just rely on RL1 with a maximum height of 8.5 meters.
And then RM1 was 16?
My understanding, RL1's gone, or RL2 is gone, is what we're looking at today.
That's an option on the table, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so that would be option 2, remove RL2, expand RL1 across the town, max 8.5 meter height.
Mayor, I was talking about RM2, which is also on the table.
So that would be in the,
And that's in the staff report. The RM2 reduction is to,
1 meter.
I believe it's to 10 meters.
Sorry, RM2 would be going from 16 meters to 15 meters. So the Upper Gibsons medium density, we're still recommending keeping it higher than the Lower Gibsons medium density.
That's where we've been going all along with the residents' assembly and conversation is increasing density in Upper Gibsons. And we've had a lot of community support for that. And as you've pointed out, Councillor DeAndrade, it's even in the current zoning bylaw. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'm not aware there is in the current zoning bylaw, 15 meters?
Increase density in Upper Gibsons,
No,
I mean,
well,
So if you look at something like Soames Place, that's not a high-density zone. I mean, how high is that building?
This is on a highway, Mayor. I'm talking
Yes,
about
it's for-
transition zones from medium density is a transition zone between low density and high density. So it should be, a townhouse is 3 meters. Even in Vancouver, you get townhouses 3 meters, and if it's a fourth, it's underground. So we are talking about this very tall buildings right beside you. You have Aurora area, the Aurora Lane. You have a medium density right beside. Look at here. Right, a very low density. So you're jumping from 8.5 meters, and a building beside you, it's 15.
I don't see anything at Aurora.
And you have parkland as well. These are medium density. This is medium density.
Oh, right, you mean along North Road?
Yeah, and then you have high density right beside Aurora that goes to 18 meters.
You're talking about something different in like wanting to change, basically get rid of medium density in town, or?
No, I would like medium density to be 3 stories, and then high density 4, and like we used to, and then the agreement, if you're providing affordable housing, yes, we go 6. That's justifiable. That's what we need. But why are we actually, in a way, we are incentivizing speculation, because for 4 stories, nobody's going to be selling there, or if they sell, there's still, okay, we want to build 4 stories, which it's very, it's comparable to what we have now. It's comparable with the things that we approved. But at least if we go 6 stories, it's because we have affordable housing coming. If we give 6 stories, we won't have. Well, there will be a lot of buildings, and we're not even going to get. And we are not
Councilor
considering
D'Andrade,
views.
I hear you.
I would like to have, just to finalize on this topic, I would like to have the same view exercise that was done for Upper Gibsons, to see this incredible massing that is being proposed, how pleasant it's going to be, even biking around, and that should be done as well.
I just want to temper some of this. Incredible massing. I mean, we're talking about more, it sounds like you're arguing more for lowering the status quo, reducing density from what we have in the status quo, for to have only 3-story buildings and kind of along Gibson's Way, is what I'm hearing. Medium, and they are medium, yeah. Like, I'm really confused by where we're going here, but I want to get back on.
Because RM1 is down to 10. So, and RM2 is 15. So RM2's maximum of 4 stories. RM1 is maximum probably of 3, I would imagine, right? Yeah. So
We're kind of looking at status quo as it is right now, really, and now or we could go even lower than status quo.
well,
Yeah, so I've put the RM zone heights back on the screen. So RM1, Lower Gibsons, 10 meters, 3 stories. Upper Gibsons, 15 meters, 4 stories. So these are very modest apartment zones. We also worked with a land economist at the Residents Assembly and noted that in terms of financial feasibility, 4 and 6-story apartments are close to the line in terms of being financially performative. They're definitely not in a mixed-use situation, but right now we hope that this provides the opportunity for more housing in Gibsons to support the tourist economy and the opportunity for hotels. They need this kind of dimensionality as well.
Councillor Thompson.
Can we please see the residential zone map again so that we can take a really good look at the RM1 and RM2 zones? Just, I want to be able to compare what that relationship is to the neighboring low-density residences and where that sits. Accepting that not much has changed based on what's just been changed.
Yeah, so the highest allowable heights would be the brown. This is the high-density residential zone. The second highest heights would be in the commercial mixed-use zone. So there's Soames Place, generally aligned with its height. And then we terrace down with the orange sites, to provide that transition from the higher density sites. There's some transition. And then one of the options we put on the table is to take the RL1 zone, which really only applies now to the Heritage Hill, and we could apply it to all of the low density RL2, the light yellow, or we could go with that sort of difference in height following North Road, O'Shea, and Eagle Crest. Would be only a half a meter of additional height allowed west of that road alignment.
Very good. Okay, Councillor Chandretti.
I think I don't know if all councilors understood, but what I'm talking specifically, it's the impact of medium density on low densities. Because you have medium densities on the highway, it's less impact. But you're talking about medium density right on low density zones. So it should be a gentle increase, not like a double, basically, increase. And that's my point. It is a point. It is. Right now, it's 8 maximum, right, in low residential.
So-
And we are going to 15. So the medium zone, when you are beside the low zone is 8 meters.
Can you give an example of what?
Right here,
What's-
Mayor. Okay, on top, you have on the right side of North Road, which is okay. It's actually, this area is protected because everything there will be low.
yeah.
And then you have Aurora area, and then you have a medium density right there, beside a high density. So and beside the other areas will be.
Yeah,
that will
I
be-
understand, Councillor, and you've raised this before of not wanting that proper to be medium density. And
We're
before it
talking
was,
about this brown one right here?
no, up on Reed Road, right at the top. I mean, we've moved along in this process. You had a different reason for opposing it before.
No, Mayor, I didn't oppose. Before I was talking about, this is an environmental sensitive area.
Yeah.
I'm not talking even about this today. I'm talking right now about transitioning. When you have a medium density, is a transition zone. So you have low, and then you have medium, and then you have high. But we are going low, which is around, right now is 8 meters, and it might go 8.5. Then we jump to 15, which is almost double. Look at the top. So all
There's a
these
high in the
houses-
middle there. There's a high in
Then
the
you have
middle,
a
so there's
high in the
transition.
middle.
There's transitioning to that high.
No, not the people who are living on Parkland or the next area that will be built, or Aurora. Aurora is going to have all this massing right beside, so you have your 8.5, you have your house.
I don't agree that it's, I mean, I hear that it's the 3-story buildings are really, you find it like massive, but I guess I think what the consultants try to do here is have that transition you're talking about. If like, these are 3-story buildings,
It's not 3,
4-story,
it's 5.
5 now.
Yeah, the medium is 5-story.
That's not what I'm hearing. I mean, let's talk about, I don't know where that information is coming from, but go ahead, Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to clarify that the RM1, what we're recommending in Lower Gibsons, is 10 meters, which is 3 stories. And then the RM2 in Upper Gibsons would be 15 meters, which is 4 stories. And for context, Soames Place is 15 meters as calculated from the highway. So it's actually much higher than 15 meters because it slopes down towards the back. So that building's probably more like 16 or 17 meters.
So I want to try to, I hear your opposition, Councillor DeAndrade, but I want to, and I hear Councillor Lumley, you brought up earlier that you might be opposed to all this too because you just, about the 5,000 population. And we should do this all over again in a year? It's okay, good, I'm glad we're clarifying that. So where are we going? Other than Councillor DeAndrade's opposition, we've got the concern about that view protection area, that sub-area D, and maybe that should be more consistent along Marine Drive. It's been raised. I don't know if there's agreement on that. And yeah, I'm just looking for moving forward here. Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. I will say that, we've received an incredible amount of information. I wasn't here for one of the meetings. I did watch it and go through the agenda and, with the information that's been presented today, certainly a lot of the concerns that have been expressed with respect to height have been addressed. To Councillor Thompson's concerns about setbacks and lot coverage, I think there's possibly opportunity for discussion there. Councillor Lumley mentioned that area along Marine Crescent where, from the Marine Drive point of view, the Checkwelp Bandland intersects into that property. So, there's a bit of we don't know what's going to happen to that in the future. And we'll have, I didn't want to say we would not have control over it, but you're probably correct. But I think, there was discussion. I think, we need to move some of this forward, but I think there's also an opportunity that we need to, not in the middle of a council meeting, try and sort some of this stuff out. And there was discussion of a council workshop. It was in the motion that Councillor DeAndrade brought forward at the last meeting.
That was about something else, I think. I mean, I think today we are.
Was that the parking study?
Yeah, that was about parking. So that passed. We're going to do something on parking.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just sense that there's so much, that's been brought forward, so much that's been changed, areas combined, and,
Well,
I'm feeling that there's a lot of stuff in the air, and we need.
the view protection was complicated
key
from the
thing,
start. Like
yeah.
it's we've known this all term, and previous terms. The view protection, the way as it stood, was like there were conflicts within the bylaw about the view protection. It was just unworkable. So
having sat-
so it's not a surprise that it's been.
And, to Councillor Lumley's point, having sat on the ADP for several years, the challenges that we've been faced with every project that's come to the ADP because of the zoning and the bylaws being out of alignment, we're making progress in the right direction, but I think we need to just sort of pick some of these points and get some of the stuff moving.
Sure. Well,
We've got
what
a
are
lot
the
of balls
concerns
in the air
Yeah.
right now?
Well, let's do it. What are some of the other concerns here? Because we got. I mean, Councillor Lumley raised a great one, and I think we should address that. What are some of the other, Councillor Thompson? You've got.
Sure, for the sake of discussion, I'll put forward that we have no change to low residential 1 setback or lot size, height, and we move that RL1 through to RL2 as a start. That deals with RL.
Okay, so that's the recommendations. The second recommendation? Yeah.
Well,
Does that include the first wording too?
I want to ensure that we're addressing the setbacks and lot size. I know that is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm recommending that we, in RL1, we do not change lot size setbacks. 0.5 meter of a height is what, 1.6 feet? So that's what I'm recommending as it relates to low-density residential.
I don't know if that's, even in what we're looking at today. So it's going to be very complicated to do that today. Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question. I don't fully understand what you're putting on the table. So just so I can try and follow, no change, I wrote no change to LR1 setback. Is that what you said? So what
The
is
RL1.
what is the goal for setbacks? Do you want 1.2 meters, 1.5?
Existing.
You want, so you want the view, do you want the view protection setbacks or?
Now we
Really complicated.
really
That's why
Because we have so many, we have so many different setbacks.
it all depends on lot size and stuff in those sub areas. It's
this, yeah.
What's-
This
so
is
what's-
where this is the complexity.
Zone
But I know what they're
Yeah.
saying though.
maintain its,
Okay.
the actual current setbacks.
In our-
Not what's been proposed, but what is actually in the zoning bylaw as it exists today.
so 1.5. I think. Like
So we don't
the
have an
default-
R1 zone right now. We have multiple low-density
Yeah,
residential
that's right.
zones.
That's part of the problem here too, is that was one of the, this is one of the, we're kind of going back on a lot of the decisions we made early on in the process and rethinking them. Is one thing, like the first meeting with McElhaney said, like, let's try to make things clearer by cutting down on the amount of zones we have.
And I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
with the objective being to maintain the established relationship between the existing homes in our low-density area. That's the objective. I know I'm skewing it by saying, but that's the objective.
And that's what the report, I mean, that's what the presentation we just watched, like, that's why we went through it like sub-area by sub-area to go, well, this one we should get rid of and address it with zoning. This one we should keep. That's the work that's been done here. And I want to say too, like, all this has been done. We've received some public input in the last couple days, especially, and all of that was based on like a presentation or a report we got 2 weeks ago, and McElhaney's been working on adjusting that. That's what we're seeing today, and that's why we saw those comparisons of what it was, and what the community wants to see. I think in bringing those heights down and and preserving views. I'm not really sure where. Can we keep on? Like, your concern is mostly view protection in Lower Gibsons.
It's view protection, but it's also lot size. It's also, I don't want to be sacrificing, building out residential lots and having setbacks that, we're really close to our neighbors based on trying to achieve, more lot square footage use to build. Those are my concerns, and I feel like that's what's been communicated from the community as well.
Yep. So where are some examples of where that would happen? Maybe Colton, could you help with that?
To the mayor, I was just comparing the current R1 side setbacks with the proposed side setbacks, and they remain at 1.5 meters so they're the same as in your current zoning bylaw.
So do we need
It might be helpful when we bring the bylaw forward, we could bring comparison tables so that you're able to see the changes as much as possible on a limited number of pages.
Sorry, I'm laughing because it's so complex. It's like,
Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for context, we have, in the low-density residential zones, we had 9 of them, and we've merged them all into 2. And the side setbacks range from 1.5 meters to 1.2 to 1.5 meters. So, and the provincial guide recommended 1.2 meters, but we're moving towards 1.5 meters to maintain fire separations and windows on sides of homes.
And also to respond to what council directed you to do, right? Like,
Yes.
let's acknowledge that the community wants this. The community wants some setbacks.
Thank you,
It's not
Mayor.
ju-
Yeah.
yeah.
So we can share the current information with proposed. It's going to be really overwhelming because it's a lot of information, but we can share it. We have it. We've done all the analysis to get to this point.
Councillor Lumley.
Okay, here's a doozy. I know. My question is, the area, let's say where the George site is and all the way to the market. That is now being rezoned as, what is it? I can't see it.
It's
That's
like commercial.
That's RM1, so
RM1. Medium density.
lower Gibson's medium density, and CM1, which is mixed-use commercial for Lower Gibson's.
Okay. I guess my question is, if someone, either of the 2 developers, is that gonna cause issues for them? Like if say the George property, and I feel like I went through hell and back regarding this and the height and everything, and the design gets changed, and you add this and you do this. I got to re-up my permits. Okay, you got to connect the pathway. You got to do this. You got to do this. And from my understanding, I don't know, Klaus is in the audience. He's going to bring back another application. And I know there was a letter. I just wonder if it's possible if we could kind of exempt those areas, just in case, like that area down there where those 2 developments are. I wonder if we can exempt that area so that when we do pass this and we do vote this, and somebody brings an application forward, we don't have to go through that whole process of OCP amendment, zoning amendment for height. I just really don't want to relive that. And I wondered if we could just kind of exempt that area for, because I truly believe, I mean, if it's not them, it's somebody else, anyway, I don't need
It's not what we're looking at today.
Okay, but we can do that before it.
I mean, if you want to change it, create a whole new zone or something. But I mean,
I
we're
don't know.
pretty far along in the process now. Looking at this
You don't
comprehensively.
You don't think that would be like a nightmare again? Like it would be just, I don't know. I just think we've come this far. It just like seems ridiculous to send somebody just back to the drawing board with this.
I mean, part of this too was a conversation early in the term about like, just in a general way about spot zoning in the town, right? And we want a comprehensive OCP that looks at the entire plans for the entire town and doesn't have like the CDA zones in different spots and spot zoning in different spots. And yeah, indeed, that will probably evolve still over years. Yeah. And I know I hear you. You
Town
don't
needs
want
a
that to happen
hotel.
again.
The town needs a driver. And we went through all this, and if you zone it like this, you're just gonna take it away, or else you're gonna, I just don't understand why that would be, why anybody logically would do that. I just don't find it, I don't know. I would want to either make a zone there, make an exemption, something, until we're definite, we know what's happening, so. I don't
think
know how it
that's-
impacts the other development down there either. I'm just saying these people are laying the groundwork for development under specific, like, ideas. And it'd be a shame to just go back to the drawing board or go back
Well,
to
we
square
are.
one.
We are going back to the drawing board because these are decisions we made earlier in the process.
Yeah. well,
So.
It's just one little
So,
zone.
right, today, we're looking at the view model analysis and this work.
So we're not
which is
voting
done.
on these areas today then, like I'm not,
Well, that's a whole new,
okay.
I mean.
That's fine,
the
we're just looking at view
sub-areas, yeah,
corridor.
the view protection sub-areas, yes, but.
Okay.
But when we're looking at the property on Reed Road that Councillor DeAndrade wants to bring down to a different, take it out of medium density, and other properties around town, changing that all around, that's stuff we already talked about months ago. And I guess we might have to find a way if councillors want to rethink some of these things. But that's not what we're looking, today we're looking at the recommendations in front of us that are related to this view analysis. Councillor Kroll?
Thank you, Mayor White. To Councillor Lumley's point, I did sort of address this prior to this meeting, that there are projects that, ostensibly have been approved by council, and that, if these zoning changes occur, it's going to require the proponent having to come back and ask for a zoning amendment. And I'm certainly in agreement with Councillor Lumley that, why we can't say if these two existing projects proceed, they proceed as has been previously approved, and if they don't proceed, then this is the zoning that's in place. That doesn't seem that difficult.
Okay, so, I mean, council wants to do something totally different today, because I wasn't prepared for this today. I didn't know that this was what we were going to be talking about, because we've had meetings about this in the past. Today, we were looking at, like, this is kind of out of order, actually. And I mean, if we keep going down this road, I think I'm going to need us to focus on the report in front of us right now to try to address that. Because, like, some of the stuff we're talking about, it's not even,
Can I
we
ask
don't
for,
have information, and
sorry,
we
Mr.
weren't
Mayor?
prepared to talk
Can I
about
get
it.
clarification from staff through you that are, like, all these zones, every one of these zones on that map and this report, we're voting on today to say, yes, those are the zones? Or are we just voting on just the height and that's it, like just the view? Is that what we're just voting on today?
Sure.
So thank you through the mayor. Today, we're looking for direction on heights, and then we're going to bring the bylaw to you, and that's when you're going to give it first reading, when you see the entire package. Yeah, so, yeah.
Councillor DeAndrade.
Thank you. Why haven't we asked any feedback from the ADP? So all these proposals come to council, we hear from the public, but we don't hear from the panel. That is the panel that we select to do
Okay.
this.
So the ADP had a special meeting about OCP, and we did receive that back. When it came to, like, other steps, what was decided is ADP members were encouraged to make submissions to us, and we've seen some of those. I phoned up the chair and said, I'm hearing from one of your members that you would like another meeting, and I didn't hear back, so I don't think that's the case. I think they had their meeting that completely looked at the OCP, which then directs the zoning bylaw. And the one member who did want another meeting gave us quite substantive additional input, yeah, that we've all seen.
But Mayor, just to clarify, my understanding is the ADP, we request the ADP to provide input. It's not, they say, oh, sorry, we don't want. And I think it's very important to start with, this is very technical. And for us to absorb everything, it's a lot of responsibility in saying yes to something that it will impact everybody's life forever. And I have a very good understanding of a lot of stuff, but I don't know if I have 100%. So now we are voting, saying yes, it goes back to the public, and now we hear one person here, one person there. Why we also, before even sending to the public, we hear from the ADP, because at least we have more time. No, we haven't from zoning.
We absolutely did.
Not from
Councillor
zoning.
Kroll.
No, we did have the ADP meeting with respect to the OCP, and
OCP, not zoning.
at that point, we were just dealing with the OCP, the zoning. Yeah,
So,
but they have submitted, like, there was a 27-page letter, which you should have been copied on from the ADP.
Which we ignore, we didn't talk about it.
go ahead, bring it up.
Well, I just brought. I
Okay,
brought.
what do you want to talk about in the letter?
Well, I brought about, because this is feedback from people who really understands, like, end results. And the fact that suddenly we are saying, okay, well, we protect lower Gibsons, but upper Gibsons, well, let's go and do all this increase in height without even considering impacts on the neighborhoods and all the mess in the.
I don't think that's fair at all. We've got a lot of work has gone into this, including by council, and a lot of community conversation has gone into this
Council didn't have the
for
opportunity to
years
understand.
now.
To understand the heights. You will hear from people from this area for sure.
We have,
Because
and we brought it down.
15 meters, it was this is medium, we are talking about the medium zone. You brought down 1 meter for
No,
5
no, it was,
stories?
I think that was high density before, and we brought it down to medium density.
Mayor, I'm sorry,
It absolutely
I have to
was.
say, you are getting a lot of attention to lower Gibsons, and it's almost like, okay, upper Gibsons, without paying attention on the residents that live here and on the flow.
That's not true. One of the big changes we made was bringing those heights down in response to those concerns that you're saying we're going to hear from. We already heard from them, and we brought.
From 16 to 15.
No.
Why don't we
No,
bring
it used to be high density. Director of Planning.
Thank you. Through the mayor, so we brought the two properties that are adjacent to Parkland from high-density residential down to medium-density residential.
Councillor Kroll?
As I mentioned earlier, obviously we need to move some of this forward, but, we're talking about height. All we're doing is asking staff to make the changes that have been proposed in what we received today. It still has to come back as a revised bylaw, correct? That will come back to us.
Yep.
We will,
Yep, and I'm hearing like some opposition to that bylaw that's going to happen, and.
we potentially will give it first reading, then it goes out.
Or first reading will fail. Yeah, I think there's a.
If first reading goes through, then it goes back out to the public. There's a public hearing. I think we're anticipating, like, I appreciate a lot of the concerns that, have been brought forward, but I think, the public is going to have to live with this as much as we are in moving things forward in the future. So I think we need to get this to a point that it can at least get out to the public for further feedback. Because right now, there's so many pieces of information and balls in the air that until we get something in black and white that we can say, yes, we agree with this, or no, we don't agree with it, we're just chasing our tails. So I would like to go through the recommendations one by one, and, if we have to vote on each line of it separately, there are a couple things that, that Colton brought forward, whether we draw a line here and one side of it's one thing and the other side, we have the combination of RL1 and RL2 in the lower village being combined. We need to tick some of these boxes, because otherwise we're going to be sending out for dinner.
Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, I know. I think, I agree. We're kind of beating a dead horse here, but as the mayor already suggested, there's really only one substantive kind of change, which was the sub area. What was it again? D, sub area D, which would carry through the 4.5 meters. That's the only thing that I heard that had changed. So I'm quite willing to move the recommendation, the option one of the RL1 and RL2 with that change. I mean, I'd move all the recommendations, actually, because that's the only,
Okay, but there are options, yeah. Okay, so that's,
well, it's option one.
yeah,
or
there's,
option
so there's
two?
an option to look at, do we want to,
I thought
do we
you
want-
wanted- Well, you want to change it R to L, RL1.
that's pretty clear, but
Option
again,
Sorry,
there's.
wrong option.
So there is we're presented with, do we want to do 8.5 meter max all over Gibsons? Or have that just in the area of Gibsons that's sloped and where view protection is a concern, and have 9 meters for the rest? That's something that isn't a recommendation here. It's we have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, option two, I think. I was confused. Option two is what
Okay.
I'm moving, yeah.
And then there's the part about the public institutional.
Mayor, can we vote separated? Are we voting separated?
Yeah, well, sure, we can. Yeah, but
Okay.
let's just get this clear.
Okay.
Because we have to decide. I mean, Councillor Lumley said he's willing to put forward all of it, but there are some options that need to be parsed out here. So we've got the public institutional, which is to decrease to 11 meters with rental tenure up to 6 stories, or make it 9 in Lower Gibsons. Yeah, I mean,
Clarification. When we say PI, public institution, are we saying all across the town?
No,
No, option two.
it's across Lower Gibsons. So it would be specific to the public institutional, the blue on the map, the blue sites in Lower Gibsons. So it would be Harmony Hall, the post office, the church on the rock, High Beam Dreams, Town Hall.
I did have Councillor Lumley trying to make a motion here, so I want to go back to him to see what
And
he
that-
meant, clarify what he meant.
Option two. So both are option two at this point.
Okay. And then, do we have wording somehow to just clarify that sub-area D on the north part? Yeah, because there was also a D on the south end, so this was the north.
So we can add the and that part, but keep the northern portion of sub-area D with a maximum building height of 4.5 meters from Marine Drive.
Okay. that-
Can you repeat that, Leslie Ann? I'll type it out.
Yeah, keep northern portion of sub-area D with maximum building height of 4.5 meters from Marine Drive.
I've got a
Okay.
Sorry, that captures it. Okay, so the way it's typed up there, is that correct? And I've got a seconder for this motion from Councillor Kroll. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries.
Mayor, I'm sorry, could you repeat? Because we were discussing each motion without voting, and suddenly you raised the vote. And
Well, that's the way Councillor Lumley put it forward.
Okay, sorry, I missed. What, because I asked if we could do separated.
I asked for a discussion, and I
Mayor.
didn't hear anybody, so let's separate it.
I asked
So-
exactly, so.
There are 4 parts now, I think. So the first part is about RL1, RL2 zoning as outlined in option 2 of page 7, which is remove R2 and expand RL1 across town with 8.5 height max. And I'm just summarizing that that's the one we're talking about right now. It's up on there.
Okay, but the first one is this one. Are we following this, or we are saying this is the first one? We have to clarify because it's confusing.
But that's just the introductory part. So that applies to all the parts. These are the changes. Right?
No, there are many other changes.
Okay, let's do that one separately. I mean, I think it's an introduction that outlines all the ones that have come after it, but I mean, yes, corporate officer.
Perhaps it helps if the first paragraph was just to have the word following changes, that staff be directed to make the following changes to the zoning bylaw.
Following changes.
And then
I don't
these
know why
are
we would do that
following.
separately, but yeah, and that's,
The reason I ask, because I support the changes on the these 2 changes, but I don't support, for example, the fact that medium density, high in
Okay,
Upper
why don't-
Gibsons is 15, so.
we've got a motion, we already voted on it. I mean, we can separate it piece by piece. Sure.
Well, I asked you, Mayor, and you said yes, that's the point. And then you went back and you didn't separate, so.
It wasn't put forward that way, and then, and there was an opportunity for you to ask that, and you didn't take it, so I mean, I'm trying to do it piece by piece, and you've got issues with that too, apparently.
No, I asked you if we could vote separate, you said
I
yes.
did.
And then people
Yeah,
are
so
discussing on the motions.
The first part
Yeah,
is that the RL1 and RL2 zoning is outlined in option 2 of page 7. Remove RL2 and expand RL1 across town with 8.5 height max.
yes,
I just said that.
I
Yeah.
would like to vote, yeah.
Okay,
and-
so we'll do this separately. All those in favor?
Thank you.
The motion carries. The second part is about the public institutional zone, option 2. All those in favor? The motion carries. And the final part is about staff be directed to keep northern portion of sub-area D with a maximum building height of 4.5 measured from Marine Drive. All those in favor? Oh, so there is one more part, yeah. So that's the third part, and then that staff be directed to bring the draft zoning bylaw and draft official community plan to a future council meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? You're opposed?
No,
Councillor
Mayor.
DeAndrade, we really have to move on with the meeting?
Mayor, but there's no clarification. There is a first recommendation that involves everything here, other stuff that is not here.
These
So
are,
we
these
did-
are the parts of the motion. These are the three, these
Exactly.
are the following parts of the motion. These are, see, it says following changes?
Exactly, but there are other
So-
things on the motion that not necessarily I agree. So this was not really well designed because it's lumping everything.
Please put it on the record that Councillor DeAndrade is opposed to these changes.
No, not the changes. I support the change to RL1. I support the
Is
public.
opposed to everything else in the zoning bylaw. Is that what you're
Thank you.
saying?
Not
Okay.
everything else. Actually, can I be clear?
Just say it. The meeting's being recorded, Councillor DeAndrade.
please,
You've been
so-
very clear all meeting. People know where you stand on this.
Yeah, but it's
Summarize.
important.
Summarize
I'll
how you s-
summarize.
yeah.
I don't support having medium density in Upper Gibsons at 15 meters. There should be a transition zone. And also, I don't support higher density going to 6. I think we should keep 4 and negotiate to 6, allow to 6 if negotiated. So we will produce more affordable units.
Item 6.2 is appointments for 2026, or following, sorry. It says following the 2026, oh. Until the 2026 municipal general election, okay. These are appointments to go from now to the next election. And yeah, I tried to put these together. Most of it's status quo, as best as I can with communications with those of you I could get in touch with. So that's the recommendation. Councillor Kroll. Councillor Kroll moves it, seconded by Councillor Lumley. All those in favor? The motion carries. Then there's a meeting schedule, a proposed meeting schedule too. Any concerns, questions about that? Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? Did you have a question about that? No, sir. Okay, all those in favor? The motion carries. And we've got correspondence from the public market. So I think, we don't have a staff report on this. It's here as correspondence, and it's because this isn't a normal process for liquor licenses. This is kind of this is the market asking for this outside. I think this would be kind of an exemption, and we don't have any authority over this at all. It's the Provincial Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch, and the questions. Do we want to write a letter of support for this? Councillor Kroll, question.
I'm just looking back on some of the other things that have come forward with respect to going through the liquor and cannabis licensing. Yeah. Normally, if someone makes an application, doesn't the liquor licensing and the cannabis regulation people come back to us for a referral?
Yeah, that's the more formal process, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted clarification on that.
Yeah, so this is just a letter of support. Yeah. Councillor Kroll.
I'll move the request.
Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? The motion carries. And now we have a motion to close under Section 91C of the Community Charter. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kroll. All those in favor? All those, yeah, the motion carries.
Next meeting. Wow. December 2nd. Yeah, I'll be here for that one. That's good.